Hi Art 1 students, this is a video going over the first of two projects for our Media Arts unit. This is going to be happening in between the two stages of the ceramics unit, the first stage being making your clay piece and the second stage being glazing your clay piece. So at any point in between those stages, you'll want to refer back to these videos to know what we're doing in media arts. And of course, I'll be available to help. But I think this format will lend itself well to the process. Of course, it's not going to simulate how the media arts class itself is run. So if you're signing up for that, know that of course Mr. Coker would be guiding you through it more deliberately and in person, but I thought a video format could work really well since we have people in very different stages of clay. So to begin, what are we making in media arts? Let me click through the slideshow so that you can see project 1, which I'm going to call double exposure, and project 2, patterns. We'll begin in this video focused on project 1. Here are examples of double exposure media arts projects. Of course, you want to keep your theme in mind. You might look at this image here and think, what is the theme? There's lots of different things that could come to mind. You might think the busyness of our daily life or the thoughts in our head. Those are two things that come to mind. Or maybe dreams. So maybe this woman is dreaming of living in New York City someday and it's kind of situated in the frame of her head. And so that might be her theme. Of course, this one would bring forth a totally different theme. Unlike these examples, which are just aesthetically beautiful, you do need to begin by selecting two images with your theme in mind. This one's a lovely mountain scene with a woman's face juxtaposed. So you're picking two images, double exposure. Really nice one of the silhouette of a kid, it looks like, over a mountain scene or an ocean wave, I guess. This one was a little more rudimentary, but I think it's a good beginner level. The great thing about this project is that you're going to get to tinker as much or as little as you want with this process, which I'm going to show you in a moment. This video will be a little bit long, but think about it as an entire lesson that you're not going to have to hear me say in class. And then, of course, I love this one. You can clearly see it was done in Photoshop. That's not the program we're going to be using. We're going to be using a program called Pixlr. I'm sorry, I had one more. This is a really good, actually triple exposure, 3 faces combined into one. And that's actually an album cover that I recently found. So this practical application, you can see where the digital format is what our eyes are used to going across daily as we're on our phones and our computers. So what you're first going to want to do is think about what 2 images you want to select. And you can do that from your camera roll, as I have done, and email it to yourself. So I've emailed myself this sort of moody landscape image I took a couple of years ago when I was at the beach. And it was actually from the inside of a car. So there's the rain on the window. I thought, that could be manipulated well. Of course, I'm not thinking thematically, so I was just picking for the sake of the demo. So you could email yourself 2 images, or you could go to an open source image website like Unsplash. It's been something I've recently learned about. And you could see if there's anything on here that would suit you and download it. So you have both of those options, or like I'm going to do, you can do a combination of the two. And so what I have on my computer are the images, and I saved them as Media Arts 1 and 2. You can see I've actually already done this example with these 2 images. I used that one of my girls, Penny and Piper, and another image I had taken a long time ago on a walk of some roses. And what I did was I used this program Pixlr to simply combine them in an interesting way. I only played around with opacity. I didn't do any erasing, but I thought it made a cool kind of springy image. You could still see their faces, but the flowers sort of work around and cover the negative space that was otherwise just a fence post. So how did I do that? I'm going to show you right now. you're going to go back to the computer, to your web browser, and you're going to go to a website called Pixlr, Pixlr.com. You're going to begin for this project for a design project. And then you'll simply click Open Image. And so I'm going to begin with one of my two. I'm going to do, let's see, Media Arts. Fun, let's do that one. And I'm going to do full size. Don't worry about that too much. And I'm going to apply that. Great. So here I am. I have my image. Uh-oh, it's coming on its side. So I'm first going to have to get used to my tools. I'm zooming in and out. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to play around with just actually rotating that. And I'm going to first unlock that background because I don't want that to be locked out. I'm going to grab this and rotate. And there I go. That's good enough. Double click and move away. I found that it looked a little grainy when I was working on my computer, but in the end it was fine. So now, of course, we're doing a double exposure. So I want to bring in a new image, and so I'm going to go to Add Element or Image. You can do that. Of course, there's all kinds of things they have, but I'm going to click on Add Media of my own, and mine is saved on my desktop, and I'm going to get that flower, and I'm going to bring that in. Ooh, okay, big. And where did my background go? It's still there. You have to get used to the fact that Photoshop and Pixlr, which is a free online version of Photoshop, use layers. So don't worry, it is not gone. It is still there. We just can't see it because this image is over it. I can flip it and then, oh no, where's the flower? It's all still right there. It's not a problem. And you will see as I go and I work with my image adjustment, that that flower is still there. So that's the first decision you have to make, is which image do you want to be on top? And you don't really know until you click on the three dots of the top image and you start to play around with opacity. Sometimes this little window wants to come up right over top of where you're working. That can be a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to get that out of the way. That's going to move that over. And here I go, opacity at 79. Oh, what if I do opacity at 0? Well, that's just the flower and the whole sunset image goes away entirely. Now I'm kind of playing around. I'm literally just pulling the scale and I'm seeing what's going on. Now I noticed there's some interesting buttons up here that I could play around with. I could play around with selecting a blend mode that the computer is doing. That looks really cool. I don't see a ton of the background image, but that's fine. I like to just click through and see what the computer generates and also continue to play with that opacity scale. Ooh, that's giving me some interesting vibes. This is all about just like dragging things around and playing around, tinkering, as I like to call it. So that's why I thought it would be actually better. Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know if I like that orangey wherever that's coming from. So you could tinker around with this so much, and you could also just say, no, I don't want that. I actually don't like that image on the top anyway. I want to play around with instead putting this image on the top. I'm going to go to my 3 layers, and here I am. I'm just going to pull opacity a little bit. I'm going to get the same thing, obviously, because it is the same 2 images, or a similar thing, I should say, not same, because one is over top of the other. But literally, this project is pulling opacity sliders and clicking through this drop down. That is it. But I know the computer can be really overwhelming, especially these different products that you may not be used to using. So we're used to using all of our social media features and things like that. But if you're not used to Photoshop, if this is a very strange concept for you, then know that this might be a little intimidating, and I want to just keep it really simple for this project. So I think I like this better. I want to close out the video and show you how to save this. So I'm just going to be super quick and pick something. Of course, I don't want you to do that. I want you to pick something that you like. don't know if that's quite getting me there. Ah, okay. I could really tinker with this for quite a long time, so pardon me. So I'm going to go with that. And what I may do is crop, and that looks good to me. And that was just that button right there. I'm going to also merge the visible layers so that they're now all together. And I want to save the image, and I'd like to save it as high of a resolution as a JPEG as possible. Don't want to do a zillion of these because I believe it's going to prompt me to get like some kind of more than free trial, and I don't want that. So I'm going to rename this combo 2 because I had already made the one with my girls, and save. Oopsie, it's like 1 of 2. So I'm good now. If you use this a lot, one workaround is to simply use the good old snip tool. It'll create a lower resolution. Oops, come on, snip. Well, I think we all probably know how to snip. It might not allow me to do that while I'm doing screencast, but you can snip it and save it as a JPEG that way. So that is the project number 1 of 2 for Media Arts. Oh, there goes the snip. Well, now I don't need it, but ask me if you don't know how to snip. So again, this video is just for this one. I want to go ahead and sign off. It's been about 12 minutes. Hopefully I've kept your attention, and that gives you enough of a gateway into Pixlr for you to explore on your own.